So this is something that I'm sure I've said in a previous video, but it's something that I'm going to say again, and that is that a massive part of what makes trophy hunting or achievement hunting so good, at least in my opinion, is that it often leads you to either playing a game you would have never have typically given a chance, or revisiting a game that you never thought you'd ever revisit, and most of the time I find myself enjoying these games a hell of a lot, and Concrete Genie, another game I've platinumed, is a great example of this. Sometimes though, a lot of games I'd love to revisit and earn the platinum trophy for have online and multiplayer related trophies, which I have no issue with. The issue is that usually on these much older games the servers get shut down, making those trophies and the platinum impossible to achieve. Recently I discovered that Mirror's Edge Catalyst, the reboot of the Mirror's Edge series, was also very soon doomed to meet the same fate. As of 8th of December 2023, the servers are going to be shut down, resulting in another game with an unobtainable platinum trophy. Being a trophy hunter and someone who loved the original, I couldn't let what could be my final opportunity to earn this game's platinum slip away from me for good, and so that is why in today's video we are going to be getting the platinum trophy for Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Enjoy. The game starts with a flashback where we see a young Faith witnessing some pretty traumatic events before she wakes up, and we find a much older Faith in a Kruger-Sec cell. We find out that today is our final day in juvie as a KSEC agent comes to pick us up for our release. We are told that we don't have long to find a job and that we will be monitored constantly through our grid link. We'll worry about that later though, as right now we are a free woman. However, as we exit the prison, one of the guards gently reminds and threatens us with a message from a man called Dogan. I'm sure we'll see him later. As I was saying, we are now a free woman and we make our way towards the streets of glass where we find that classic red door indicating where to go. Nice. As we leave, a man named Icarus tells us that Noah has sent him to come and get us, and with that he hands us a beat link and tells us to get connected to the runner network. However, due to the fact that we had a grid link, it was causing interference, causing us to get a little bit more info than we needed, and Icarus had to remove the grid link. Good news is we can now see. Bad news is that we were now a fugitive and will shortly have a swarm of KSEC agents on our tail. With that, it was time to do what Faith does best and run. Now, this is where we get our first taste for the movement system in this game, and I must say it feels absolutely amazing, and I'd say 90% of the time works exactly as I want it to. While getting a feel for the running, Noah contacts us and tells us to meet up with Icarus at a nearby warehouse, and as we approach the location, we are confronted with a guard and get our first taste of combat, which again, I will say, 90% of the time, feels absolutely incredible. We eventually make it to the warehouse tower and meet back up with Icarus. For some reason though, he seems to not be a massive fan of ours and proceeds to rub in our face about how we caused a lot of trouble for Noah by getting caught, but we know we don't have to prove anything to him, so we proceed on with our task. We go through a quick combat tutorial which introduces us to the different types of attacks, as well as the ability to chain movement and attacks together to deal significantly more damage in different scenarios. Unfortunately though, it wasn't long before KSEC showed up again, and as we were fighting our way up the scaffolding, we were introduced to a new guard type. This was a bit of a bigger boy than the others though, as with one kick he sends us flying back and to what he assumes is our death. Luckily, we managed to grab onto the pipes underneath the platform, and with that we made our escape to the rooftops, and once we get there are properly introduced to the City of Glass, somewhere that we are going to be spending the next 20 hours of our life in, and I will say, for the most part, it was an absolutely brilliant 20 hours. We then make our way to the runner hideout and our home to meet up with Noah, and upon arriving unlock our very first trophy of the game. We meet up with Noah and have a bit of a heartfelt moment, apologising and reuniting for the first time in a long time. He tells us that he has a run for us and to meet up with Birdman to get us put through our paces. At this point we don our signature clothes and Noah tells us that he has upgraded our beat link with a map of glass. This is where we are introduced to the game's character progression system. Very much like other games, it just requires XP to level up, which you can get just by completing missions, side activities, collectibles, things like that, and each time you level up you will gain a skill point that you can invest in an upgrade. As you can see, we already start with a decent amount of movement upgrades which are nice, but we can upgrade them further, as well as being able to invest in both combat and gadget related upgrades. It's also at this point that we are now free to roam the City of Glass and experience Mirror's Edge as an open world game, which is a massive change from the original's linear level design, and I was very excited to see what this new world was like. We meet up with the Birdman and he tells us that Noah wanted him to test us, and so he has set up a dash for us to take in order to test ourselves. Now, dashes are one of the many side activities in this game, and we need to get 3 stars in all of them in order to get a trophy, and to do this all we needed to do was beat the dash with a relatively quick time. However, seeing as I was a bit bare in the upgrades department, I decided to leave this until after I had completed the main story. We do however get 3 stars and gain enough XP for another level after completing the dash, and by using that skill point to purchase another upgrade, I unlock the Learn to Walk trophy. Back in the open world, I decided to head over to one of these side missions to see what they were like. Our first side mission had us meeting up with our old friend Nomad, where he needed our help in getting some tech that the outcasts need in order to set up some comms relays, and that this tech just so happens to be these control chips that can be found in numerous boxes scattered around the city. Now, this and the next side mission basically act as an introduction to the game's many different side activities, as well as a few of the collectibles that can be found scattered in the world. There's not really much to say here. We made our way to each of the relay boxes to remove the chip, while at the same time dealing with the KSEC agents. And once we had all of them, we drop them off at a dead drop location and unlocked the Learn to Fly trophy.
There. I hope it's worth all the trouble.
We then help Birdman track down 2 of his missing messenger birds. We find them both, however, they were definitely not going to be able to run messages anytime soon, so instead we take the packages and make the drops ourselves. At this point I decided to head back and continue on with the main story when I was sidetracked by another activity. This was another delivery mission, except this package was fragile, meaning we had to be careful with how we moved about the city as to not damage it, as well as complete it within the given time limit. Thankfully, this didn't prove too difficult, and upon making the drop, unlocked the Elegant Flight trophy for delivering a fragile package without it succumbing to any type of damage.
It's from Laura, isn't it? She told me she'd settle later.
Now it was back to the main story. We meet back up with Noah at the safe house, where he tells us that he has a job for me and Icarus to run. Our task was to make our way over and break into the Elysium data labs to grab some of that data. Thankfully, while scoping the building out, Icarus managed to spot an open window, which makes our job of getting in a lot easier. Once inside, we notice the building is massive, however rather spacious, allowing us to utilise our movement. Top that, with the lack of guards this building realistically should have, makes getting from floor to floor until we reach our computer much quicker. Once there, we start transferring the data when we notice that we aren't alone, and there seems to be a rather kitted out runner also in the building. Rather than taking our leave with the data, we decide to go against Noah's wishes and pursue the other runner. We end up tracking him down to a higher floor, where we discover that he is also after some data, something clearly more important than what we were after. Before we could get a closer look, however, all of a sudden the main villain and head of Kruger Tech, Gabriel Kruger, makes an appearance along with his bodyguard. They catch the thief stealing the data, and she proceeds to slap the absolute shit out of him. During the fight, the thief's data storage device got flung across the room, and as he knows what fate likely awaits him, he offs himself with some cyanide. This leads us to making a dart for the data drive and making a quick escape, during which we are introduced to a new enemy. This time, KSEC agents wielding guns, but they don't really prove too much of a threat, and if you can get close, they stand absolutely no chance. We deal with any guards standing in our way and make our escape back to the safe house, and doing so unlocks another trophy. Once back at the safe house, however, Noah wasn't happy with the risk we took to follow the runner, and once we show him the data drive we had also stolen, he gets even more furious, as now he's seriously worried about our safety. He shouted at us a little bit, but we took it on the chin like a big girl, and while he got to work finding out what was on the drive, we got to work on getting some shut-eye, during which Faith has another dream flashback of some events that happened in her past. In this dream we see Faith and her sister Kat in the midst of a riot, and while trying to hide from the danger, witness their parents being arrested at gunpoint by KSEC. At this point we wake up again, and rather than moping around due to the recent events, we decide to go back out and make some more runs. We begin by meeting up with our friend Nomad, who informs us that KSEC are trying to knuckle down on the runners by setting up antennas that can scan and locate runners in that area. Seeing as this is a threat not just for us but for other runners, we decide to bring some of them down, and we do this simply by dealing with the KSEC agents surrounding it, allowing us to pull out what I presume is its power core, causing the antenna to explode. Doing this though also alerts KSEC to our location, which means it was time to run and we have to make our escape from the incoming agents and choppers. Once we do though, we get another trophy for completing the mission. During this mission I also picked up any of the computer chips that I came across, which ended up unlocking me the 5-finger discount trophy for removing a total of 10 parts. Next we head back to meet Noah, and he seems to have cooled down a little bit from earlier. He tells us that if we want to use the drive as leverage regarding Dogen, we would need to find out what was actually on it, and tasks us with meeting up with one of his contacts called Plastic, who just so happens to be a bit of an expert when it comes to getting into data drives. He also tells us to check in with Icarus before going, as he has some gear for us that may come in handy. On my way down to Icarus, I noticed that someone had placed their own Beats LE, and seeing as I had seen a few of these now, I decided to check out what it actually was. Now, I still don't know what it was or what it did, but it did unlock us the trophy, so I'm not too worried about finding out. I then find out that I could customize my own online echo, and upon doing so, unlock the spooky trophy. Back with Icarus, we find out he had a very special toy for us indeed, a grappling hook which we can use to swing around the city like we're Spider-Man, albeit only at specific locations. Using the grappling hook, we make our way over to a new part of the city and make our way over to Plastic's hideout. Despite almost killing us with her turret at her front door, she apologises and agrees to help us crack the data drive to gain access. However, this process will take months, but she tells us that if we head to a nearby grid node and connect her to it, she'll be able to access the drive a lot quicker. Now, a lot of the missions, in case you haven't noticed already, are all very samey in this game. It's usually a head here, grab this, make your escape and on to the next mission kind of deal. And this mission was no different, so for all the gameplay that I don't show, just know that all I spent my time doing in those sections is running or fighting or a bit of both. We head to the Allcom building and proceed to make our way through it, taking out anyone who got in our way, while searching for a terminal that will reveal the location of a grid node that we can connect Plastic to. We find a computer and give Plastic access to it, and of course this isn't an instant thing, and we then have to hold out against a few waves of KSEC agents until she finds a location. Not gonna lie, this fight got a bit hairy and I almost died a couple of times for being greedy. We of course are a martial arts master though, and no amount of batons or taser gloves could take us out, and it wasn't long before Plastic obtains the grid node's location. At this point we take our leave and make our escape from the building and head over to the grid node. Once there we discover that grid nodes are essentially just giant jumping puzzle rooms in which we need to utilise our different skills in order to climb the grid node's tower without tripping any of the alarms, represented by the blue lasers. For a puzzle room, grid nodes were actually quite fun, and I often found that there are multiple ways to scale up the tower, meaning that it's not just your typical linear kind of jump-in puzzle. Despite this being our first one, I was still a bit incompetent when it came to climbing and had managed to trip the alarm, although I'm not actually too sure what that did. Regardless though, we still make it to the top and reach the terminal. We give Plastic access to the grid node, which also allows us to fast travel to the safe house in this district. Back outside, as we make our way towards Plastic's safe house, all of a sudden the big Bauble Mall building opposite us decides it's time to go bye-bye and explodes, although the reason as to why remains a mystery. Because of this though, this now meant that KSEC agents would be swarming the area, which meant it wasn't a good idea for us to stick around, and so we continue to make our way back to Plastic to lay low and wait for all of this to blow over. Back at Plastic, she tells us that she has managed to decrypt the data on the drive and found out that it contains the blueprints for something called Reflection, and with that Noah asks us to head back to him to discuss what happens next. And at this point we get the Devastator trophy for witnessing, well, the devastation that just happened. On our way back to Noah, I come across another user created activity, only this time it was a time trial. Luckily there were no specific times we had to beat, we just had to get on the board, and upon completing the time trial, unlock our final online related trophy, user generated finisher. We arrive at Noah's to find him having a pretty heated debate with a woman called Rebecca Thane, but she leaves shortly after we arrive, and Noah then tells us that Rebecca is a member of Black November. She also wants to bring change to the world, only her change involves blowing stuff up to do so, and wanted the drive to help her achieve just that. Of course, she wasn't getting it as we were planning on giving it to Dogan. Speaking of which, that's where we head to next. We head to Dogan's to discuss the debt, but at first he wasn't too interested and was more interested in talking about food and cooking. But after Faith asks about a diagram, he proceeds to tell us that we made him extremely angry and that he would somewhat consider it our personal specialty, considering with how much we have managed to piss off Mr. Kruger. We tell him that the data drive we stole off of Kruger contained the blueprints for reflection, but as of right now he doesn't know if he can make use of them, so instead tasks us with heading over to the Anansi Emporium as they haven't been making their payments. On our way there, he tells us that he wants us to scale the building and drop the pendulum-shaped counterweight inside that is used for stability during earthquakes to send Anansi a little reminder about who they have a debt with. Pretty simple job, and although morally wrong, it's either do this or have a similar fate happen to us. We make our way to the top, disconnect the 3 locking mechanisms and watch the counterweight drop. We then make our escape as the building falls apart around us, but once we make it to safety, we unlock another story-related trophy.
And then, maybe, we can also discuss your potential procurement of that drawing.
A short while later, we find Icarus trapped behind an electric fence, and with Kasek nearby, he asks us to shut down the generators powering the fence, allowing him to get out. We eventually have to head down to street level where we find the switch. However, while taking the elevator back up, we are informed that a large number of Kasek agents and VTOLs are heading towards the base. We of course sprint as fast as we can back, but unfortunately it was too late and the safe house was destroyed and empty. While looking around, we notice a Kasek VTOL on the roof outside, where we notice someone being taken away in a body bag, presumably Noah. At this point the VTOL has already taken off, but we decide to jump down and take our anger out on the agents below. During this quite lengthy fight, I actually managed to get a trophy completely by accident. Somehow I managed to perform a high ground attack as a finishing move. Now I can't lie, I could have swore I had done the exact same thing like 5 times already, but had never once had the finishing move trigger. Not sure exactly what I did this time that changed it, but I'm happy nonetheless as we got another trophy. During this fight we are also introduced to our final enemy type, and these guys were quite a step above the rest. They have quite a lot of health and are able to counter a lot of your attacks, so I found myself relying on dodging a lot more than what I needed to up until this point, but although they were tougher than the rest, they still went down just the same. As soon as the big guys go down, Icarus bursts onto the rooftop with a hostage in hand. We interrogate him and he tells us that they were just following orders and that those orders were to shoot everyone, including the old man, which realistically only confirms our fears. It wasn't long before Kasek drones began to show up and agents were incoming, so with that we part ways with Icarus for now and make our escape to another safe house. Doing so completes the mission and unlocks another story related trophy.
I lost the drone.
Icarus then contacts us and tells us that Rebecca Thane, yes, that Rebecca that wants to blow up the world, has offered us a place to hide out with the current events that are taking place. We know this is a bad idea, but as of right now we don't have any better options, and so we make our way to the base. While making our way there, I come across another grid node and decide to get it out of the way because I always love another fast travel point, especially in a game like this where without fast travel you are literally always running to get somewhere. We complete the grid node, this time without raising a single alarm, and unlock the undetected surge trophy. We end up heading into the sewers and making our way underground where we find the Black November base. There we find Icarus and Rebecca. She tells us that she is sorry, and even though her and Noah never saw eye to eye, she still respected him. She tells us that we were no longer neutral in this war between the employees and the conglomerate, and that at some point we were going to have to either step up or step out. But for now, she tells us to get some rest. How thoughtful. Of course, this means another flashback which picks up from our previous. In this, we see our mother punch one of the agents in the face, leading to our parents getting shot. Faith and Kat then makes an escape, however KSEC agents release gas in the area, which leads to Kat falling unconscious. Faith has no choice but to leave her sister behind, and since that point had always believed that she had died that day. However, our dream was cut short and we wake up unlocking another story related trophy for seeking out the help of Black November.
Faith, come see me ASAP.
We head down and are informed by Rebecca that KSEC have made a move down into the underground and have begun setting up turrets nearby, and tasked us with heading to their locations and getting rid of them, which we did by pushing them into the abyss down below. Doing so though nets us another story related trophy for completing the mission.
That should make them think twice before they come back down here. Now come back here.
Back at the base, Rebecca has come up with a plan to ambush and capture Kruger's bodyguard from earlier. We find out that she led the raid on Noah's safe house, and so that makes her our target for today. Rebecca's plan was for her to play bait to lure out the bodyguard, and once she appears, the rest of Black November will ambush her. Our task wasn't so glamorous, however, as she tasked me and Icarus with heading into and up the towers to disable all of the turrets that are currently targeting their only escape routes. With the previous mission being pretty much the same thing, we were an expert in this now, and so proceed to make our way through disabling all of the turrets. Once we do though, we get news over the comms that the ambush was successful and that they had managed to grab the agent, and with that Icarus helps us with a quick getaway by lowering us down with a crane, completing the mission and unlocking another story related trophy.
We've secured an elevator. It'll take you straight to the HQ.
Back at the base, we talk to Rebecca where we see her watching over our new prisoner. She informs us that our catch was quite a prize indeed, as this just so happens to be Isabel Kruger, daughter of Gabriel Kruger. She takes us to talk to her ourselves, but we don't really get much information and instead just get called a bunch of leeches.
They were leeches. You all are.
Nice. We decide to try again later, and on our way out, Rebecca mentions our name, which does seem to catch Isabel's attention. Nomad then contacts us and informs us of another antenna that has been set up, this time one at the old hideout. We of course aren't going to let them straight up disrespect Noah like that, so we head there to deal with the antenna and KSEC agents surrounding it. Once there, I noticed I had a couple of skill points available and decided to make the upcoming fight a little bit easier by investing in some upgrades, which managed to net me the Run Free trophy for purchasing half of Faith's total upgrades. We then fight a bunch of KSEC, destroy another antenna, and make our escape. Dogan then gives us a call and tells us that from the information he was able to gather, Noah's death feels as if it has been exaggerated and there may be a possibility of him still being alive, and that we may want to look into it ourselves. He also tells us that when we have the time, he is ready to make a deal on that data drive, bringing an end to the mission and netting us another story-related trophy.
Faith, Dogan here.
We head back to Isabel where we confront her on the information that some of our friends, specifically Noah, still lives and that we want to know where he's been taken, and in exchange would help her get released. She tells us that she doesn't actually know where they've been taken, but she does know that we can find out by accessing their records. Of course, to do that we need to break into KSEC HQ and hack into the mainframe, and so to do that we enlist the help of Plastic. On our way to the HQ, I managed to have a completely flawless few minutes of running with nothing causing me to lose focus, which ends up unlocking the Praise the Run trophy.
Who would attempt an airstrike against Kruger's sec?
Again, and it really is unfortunate to say, but there's not much to talk about here. Much like the other missions, we break into a building, only this time it was KSEC HQ, which proved to be relatively easy as there were barely any guards about, and we proceed to make our way into its mainframe. We end up giving Plastic access to its data, and while searching for Noah's location, we also ask her to dig up anything that she can on Isabel Kruger. Our escape was a bit more engaging as we had to escape and hold out against a number of KSEC agents until Plastic could direct a train to our terminal. Once it arrives, we jump on top and make our escape. Plastic then tells us that she has managed to track Noah down to somewhere known as Kingdom and that she'll continue to look up Isabel. This brings an end to the mission and we unlock another story related trophy. We then meet up with Dogan where we ask him if he knows of a place called Kingdom and tell him that Noah is being held there. He tells us that he knows of the conglomerate's dirty little secret and to get there we should head to rezoning and dig our way down to find Kingdom. Now while making our way there, Plastic ends up getting in contact with us and tells us that she has discovered that Isabel Kruger isn't Gabriel's biological daughter and that her real name is Caitlin Connors. Not to be confused with Kate Connors from the first game, as this game takes place in some sort of weird parallel universe. With that news, however, we of course have a change of plans and make our way back to Black November's base, just in time apparently, as when we get there it seems as though our sister was about to be executed. We plead with Rebecca to stop and reveal to her that Caitlin is our sister, and not only that but Noah is alive and that we need to save him. Thankfully, Rebecca's a nice person and gives us one whole day to save Noah and our sister. Plastic then informs us that she has managed to track down the location of Kingdom and even has a route that we can take to get there. And it wasn't long before we were in their not so secret base and began our search for Noah. While searching for Noah, we end up coming across a woman named Aline Mira, a former lead scientist on Reflection. She knew our parents, and as we had stolen the blueprints, she was made the scapegoat. She goes on to explain that Reflection is a new way the citizens would connect to the grid, only this was a more permanent solution, which involved injections containing nanobots with the capabilities of being able to influence what you think and feel, and tell us that it was actually our mother's research that made it all possible. We then ask her if she has heard anything of our friend Noah, and she informs us that he was taken for interrogation a little while ago, and with that we release her from her cell and make our way to Noah. Unfortunately though, we were not quick enough, as upon getting to the interrogation room we discover that regardless of what they did, Noah wouldn't tell them the location of the data drive, so the next best thing was to just straight up actually off him, and not just say that they did, I mean actually do it this time. With that, it felt like this whole thing had been for nothing and Noah was once again taken from us. I swear to God, if we find out he's alive later or something, I'm gonna be pissed. With that, we take our anger out on some more KSEC agents and make our escape, completing the mission and unlocking another trophy. We get back to the base and inform Icarus that Noah is dead for real this time, and it is also revealed to us that while all this happened, Icarus had been caught while moving our sister topside and managed to escape, but not before getting injected with Reflection. Rebecca also confirms that our sister had been taken back by KSEC before storming off. The doctor then tells us that in order to stop Reflection, she would need access to the schematics, to which we tell her to get in contact with Plastic. We then head to Dogan's where we tell him what's happened, and he reveals to us that he may know of a way to stop Reflection, but that would involve breaking into Gabriel's apartment in the View and hacking into his computer to gain access to the family network and his own personal grid print. But given the amount of security, we tell him it would be impossible. He tells us to leave, we shout at him, he shouts at us, and we cry a little bit. He gives us a bit of a talking to, and although harsh, it's realistically what we needed to hear, and decide that actually we have got what it takes to get this done. And we do just that. We head over to his apartment, and while making our way through, we make sure to slap the shit out of all of the baddies along the way, and manage to nab the Danger Zone trophy for reaching full focus and taking out 10 enemies before it runs out. We eventually reach his apartment where we gain access to his computer and access the files. After we get the files, we go to make our exit when Kruger appears on the monitors and begins to talk to us. At this point there's a bit of a back and forth regarding our sister and parents, and we confront him on his plans for Reflection. However, our conversation is cut short when a massive explosion from the shard can be heard and seen in the background. With it probably not being a good idea to stick around, we make our escape by hopping onto a drone, and upon getting back on the ground we complete the mission and unlock another story related trophy.
On the ground. Finally.
We head back to Plastics, and once there we give her the GridLink file so that she can install a virus on the data drive that we can use at the top of the very same building that just blew up to bring an end to Reflection. However, it wouldn't be ready for a little while yet, and we would still need a way to get there. Luckily, Plastic had us covered in that respect and planned on subverting the city's transit system, but in order to do this, we needed to give Plastic access to the 3 control hubs. This mission is so simple, yet I found it to be one of the most difficult missions I've played on this game. For some unknown reason, the terminal to gain access to these transit hubs are at the top of these things right here, and up until this point I've not really had any issues with the movement system, but I'm telling you now, I had constant issues on this mission. Sometimes Faith just refused to jump, sometimes she'd jump further than I wanted to, sometimes she'd vault over the platform I was trying to reach. I did not have a fun time, and I think 2 out of the 3 took me at least 5 to 10 minutes each time, and for the life of me, I can't understand why it was so difficult, because it should have been as simple as just jumping from platform to platform. Anyway, rant over with, we end up taking over the transit control hubs, however end up getting ambushed by a squad of KSEC and are forced to make our escape back to plastics. Luckily, that's where we were heading anyway. Once there, we complete the mission and unlock another story related trophy.
They lost you, Faith. Well done.
And with that, it was time to end this. The virus was now ready and we needed to head to the shard and upload it to the console in the main control chamber. Being almost a suicide mission, pulling this off would be the greatest run ever ran. With that, we say our goodbyes and catch the next train. Once we arrive at the shard, we proceed to scale the building, making our way to the top, and I will say, out of all of the missions in this game, this is by far the best and arguably to some extent the most enjoyable. Even though it is relatively straightforward, all we're doing is climbing a building, it keeps you interested and alert as while making your way up, pieces of debris will fall from above that you have to avoid, glass you're walking on will crack and break apart beneath you, we swing from turbines, and we even see an actual tree for the first and I believe only time in this game. I don't know, something about this mission, at least for me, set itself apart from the rest. Then again, it is the final mission, so I guess I kind of expect it to. Eventually though, we make it to the top and reach the main control terminal and begin uploading the virus. As we do though, Kruger walks in the room along with a couple of buddies. He asks us if we had even considered that people might want reflection and that we are actually destroying our mother's work. Although, she never actually wanted it to be used in this way, and come on, who wants to be mind controlled? I'm pretty sure no one. He then tells us that he promised Kat that he would capture us alive and that if we submit we won't be harmed. Of course that's not going to happen and we instead just beat up his 2 friends. Kruger then comes back in the room and tries to make a dart for the virus, but we beat him to it and get into a bit of a fight, ending up in us giving him a good old throat punch. He then tells us that by bringing down reflection we are also dooming our sister as she suffers from a chronic lung condition and that without reflection she will die. A couple of punches later and we were just about to get our revenge for Noah when Kat enters the room and makes a run for the drive. However, she was just a bit too slow and the virus fully uploads and immediately shuts down reflection. Turns out though, Kruger may have been telling the truth as we end up seeing our sister struggle for a brief period after running away. We then chase after her and end up getting into a fight. We did well at first, but we took a fair few good punches to the face, which we took like an absolute champ. We talk to her about our past and our parents and have a bit of a moment, however that moment doesn't last too long as Kruger makes an appearance in a VTOL and the floor breaks away beneath us. Kruger flies away and Caitlin saves us from quite a lengthy drop, but didn't plan on sticking around, and as we make our way to a bit of safety, we see that she also made it to safety on Kruger's VTOL. As the game ends, we hear Faith talking about the events after taking down Kruger, only to find out that even after everything we've just gone through, nothing really changed and life went on as before and KrugerSec was still in control. However, if Faith wants to believe they've started something, then who am I to argue? And with that, the story ends and we unlock our final story related trophy. Now with the main story out of the way, I could focus on what was, to be fair, a pretty lengthy cleanup stage, and what probably took up most of my time while playing this game. The way I went about getting through this stage was to go through each of the districts and make my way through the collectibles and then side activities. For the collectibles, we had quite a lot to get, with Grid Leaks getting the prize for having the most with a whopping total of 324 to collect. Grid Leaks were these yellow floating orbs that you've seen throughout the video, and they only appear in the free roam areas. Most of them are relatively easy to find and are kind of smack bang in your face, but there were a few that were a bit harder to find and did require a little bit of thinking. These honestly were not fun to collect, and at most you get like 10 XP for each one, so they're not even really worth it, and it felt like it was just forcing you to put the miles in when it came to running. The other types of collectibles were found both in the open world and in missions. There were a total of 42 documents and 45 recordings that could be found, as well as a total of 40 hidden bags, and some of these were pretty damn well hidden. Obviously, with a lot of these also being found in missions, I did have to go back and replay many of the missions to collect the ones that I had missed. So they were the collectibles. Now here's the side activities that we needed to complete. As I mentioned earlier when we were introduced to the dashes, I said that we need to get 3 stars in each of them, with there being 22 in total, but at this point I had a pretty kitted out faith in terms of upgrades, so it made most of these dashes an absolute breeze. Some of them though, I can't lie, I did have to cheat and look up a guide because I just wasn't able to like find a good shortcut. Even then though, when I did find a video that had a slightly quicker shortcut, that didn't really help, as I felt like my faith was a snail compared to theirs, bearing in mind we had pretty much the exact same upgrades, and my movement upgrades at this point specifically were fully upgraded. I was not missing any, so couldn't put it down to that. We also had a number of security hubs that we had to deal with, and all that these hubs were those antennas that we had been destroying throughout the game that were sent out to scan for runners. So yeah, nothing different really there, you know the drill when it comes to those. This leaves us with our final 2 side activities being to finish making 10 deliveries and to go around and complete 15 billboard hacks and interventions. Now regardless of having a choice, we didn't really have a choice but to complete a combination of both, as they were only 12 billboard hacks in the game, and with me being the only one on my friends list actually playing this game, no one was there to hack them back, so I was forced to find 3 interventions, although I actually ended up needing to complete 4 before I actually unlocked the trophy. Now interventions are random events that occur in specific locations where we can save a citizen getting harassed by some KSEC agents, and although random, there is only a limited number that will occur, as once you have completed an intervention, that's it, there won't be another one that spawns in that location again. Now there's not much more else to say, so here's the trophies pop in for that stage.
Good. And the vial is intact.
Now during the cleanup stage, I also managed to unlock 2 other trophies not related to collectibles or activities. One was the first of many movement trophies, and that was the Tenacious Tracer trophy for performing a wall run, turn, jump, wall climb, turn, jump, wall climb, turn, jump. Now I can't lie, I didn't purposely try to get this just happened while collecting the collectibles during cleanup. And our second trophy was the With Bells On trophy for purchasing all of Faith's upgrades. Okay, so now what I've got to do is I've got to go around and complete every side quest in this game. I currently have 3 showing up on my map. I highly doubt I only have 3 left, because I have like literally not touched the side quests. If we go to the missions, yeah, I've done 6 side quests, so there's no way that there's just 6, considering there's 15 story missions. We should get actually a couple of trophies, or a few trophies. One for completing all of the side quests in each of the districts, one for completing all side quests anyway, and there will be another trophy for completing all of the side quests for plastic specifically. So yeah, we should get all 5 of them. 5 I believe. We should get all of those trophies in this run, so yeah, hopefully it doesn't take too long. Let's say I couldn't lie, I wasn't too sure where I was supposed to be going. Dangerous.
But I can't get in from here.
Dangerous. I hate these because half the time I find they never work for me. I end up just jumping straight off the edge. There we go. Mission complete. First one down.
See you around.
Hey, we got a trophy. I refuse to sink. Complete all side missions in Anchor. Okay, that was a lot quicker than I expected. I thought I was going to have to do a lot more. I don't even know where Anchor is, honestly, because it doesn't come up anywhere on the map here. Anchor's nowhere. So, yeah, wherever that was, we got the trophy for that one. And that's it. Oh, and we got another trophy, Downtown Girl. Complete all side missions in downtown. And that's it. No, we can't. How can that be the last side quest in downtown when I have a side quest here in downtown? Okay. I don't know. We're not going to say no to a trophy. We need to do it anyway because it's another plastic one. There we go. Last one. Easy. Easy.
Wow, you're fast.
And there we go. Knowledge is power. Complete all of Plastic's missions. Nice. All of our missions are out of the way. I think we've got like 2 more regions to do, and then that should be all of them. So not too many left. Nice. Boom. And there we go. Another trophy, Viewfinder. Complete all side missions in the view. Nice. Okay. I've only done like 1 side mission here. Is that really all there is to it? Okay, so we need to climb to the top of the antenna and place like a listening device. She wants us to plant something on it. There's a pipe right in front of me. See, but because it wasn't glowing bright red like I'm used to, it I didn't realise it. How the hell do we? Okay. No, how the hell do we get on there? It's just like a run and jump situation. Okay, here it is.
I'm at the top.
Climb that flagpole like Mario.
Now.
Our questions teach us who we are.
And there we go. Building Docks trophy. Complete all side missions in Resonin, which then gets us the running errands trophy for completing all of the side missions. Nice. Okay, so next up, we're going to go for these 5 trophies here. These are all kind of linked to just doing like parkour-y stuff. You know, springboard, wall climb, turn, jump, coil, skill roll, shift, wall run, jump, coil, skill roll, shift. Now, some of them are easy and they can kind of be done relatively anywhere. Some of them are a bit harder, but you will pretty much need most of the movement skill stuff unlocked, at least coil for a lot of these. So yeah, you'll need skill roll, coil. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but we're going to see if we can get run right here. So we need to shift, wall run, jump, coil, skill roll, shift. And there we go, veteran runner. Shift, wall run, jump, coil, skill roll, shift. I just repeated myself, but that's the first one done and out of the way. See, extremely easy. Very, very easy. Let's go and find another one, I guess. Okay, so I've been running around for quite a while. I think I found the spot. We're going to attempt it now. That was an immediate fail. Okay, we need to wall run, turn, jump, coil and skill roll. So there we go. Easy runner. Springboard, wall climb. Yeah, you've read it. That took me so long. Okay, so the next one we're going for is the George's Garrison trophy, but in order to do it, everything that I've seen so far, I've tried other places to do it and I've had no luck. But everyone's saying load up the mission Enroachment, and at some point through it there is an easy spot. So hopefully we can get it done. I'm not holding out hope. Okay.
I just learned that the sentry drones are still packaged and guarded. You'll have to find a way to destroy them.
See, she just doesn't want to, like, she doesn't want to hop over the bar. There we go, George's Garrison. I don't know why I looked up like I was looking over the pole as well, but there we go. Trophy done. That was a bit harder than I thought. Like, she just wouldn't do it. Now she's doing it, kind of, but she just wouldn't get over that. She just kept hitting that, but doesn't matter. Another trophy done, out of the way. I think there's only 2 more left now. Hopefully they're not too difficult. Okay, so we're back at our spot. We need to springboard, wall run, And skill roll for Sebsalute Trophy. There we go. Shift, springboard, wall run, swim pipe, and skill roll. There we go. I forgot the shift. We had to shift as well to get a bit of speed, but another trophy done. I think we've got one more now. Let me double check. Yeah, we have one more. Let's get rid of Sebsalute. We have Bell of the Bell. Vault, slide, jump, wall climb, turn, jump, wall run, turn, jump, skill roll. I mean, I don't know where the hell I'm going to get this. Okay, so I found out that we can get it done in this spot, and that it doesn't have to be like one after the other after the other. Well, it does, but you do have a little bit of time in between. Like I watched someone online, I watched a guy online, I can't lie, and he did everything here, and then he ran around here and done the rest of it. I thought it had to be kind of like one after the other. So I've been sitting here for about 10-15 minutes now trying to do this. Okay, we need to vault, slide, come around here. We need to run, turn, and we didn't do it because we didn't do the skill roll at the end, man. There we go. Bell of the Ball. Vault, slide, jump, wall climb, turn, jump, wall run, turn, jump, and skill roll. Now, I swear to God, I done that like 3 times and it never registered. Maybe that, or I was just taking a bit too long. But I was worried that was going to be bugged out then, but at least we got it done. Okay, so you may recognize where we are. We are at the very beginning of the game, and that's because we're going for the law-abiding citizen trophy. So right here, right at the beginning, before we even move, typically everyone would push right forward, like straight forward on the analog stick, or, you know, W on the keyboard, and they'd start sprinting. No, we want to walk. And this is a bit easier said than done because the analog sticks are so, like, finicky. I tried this a couple of times a minute ago and I kept like sprinting forward, but here we go, we're walking very slowly. Yes, we are moving. I'm not trying to loiter, I'm just trying to get my last trophy, bro. We're going good so far. My finger's getting a bit tired, or my thumb, shall I say, is getting a bit tired right now. It has been using this analog stick all morning, but we are very close. Come on. Can we get the trophy? Is the trophy going to pop? There we go. Law-abiding citizen. A good Cascadian follows the rules. Damn straight we do. And there we go. The few, the elite, the platinum trophy. Oh my god. We've done it. Did not take long at all. Thoroughly enjoyed myself in this process. Thoroughly enjoy everything. And with that being the platinum trophy, this brings us to the end of the game. So, what are my thoughts? Well, Mirror's Edge Catalyst was actually quite enjoyable and has done a great job on improving on certain aspects of the original. For example, I don't have anything really bad to say about the movement system. For the most part, at its core, it is the same as the original, but it's been smoothed out a little bit more, and with the introduction of gear like the mag rope, it makes traversing the new open world city of Glass quite fun. The graphics were honestly stunning. I have literally nothing bad to say about the graphics, so yeah, good job on that. The city of Glass was big and beautiful, and they did an incredible job of making a city that felt like it would be in a Mirror's Edge game, seeing as, well, Mirror's Edge has always been about being on the rooftops. It wouldn't have made sense if they all of a sudden said to you, hey, you're going to be spending all of your time on the street level. I will say though that although I loved the city, and that granted a lot of this does take place on the rooftops, most of the game felt kinda samey. Apart from the occasional different colour scheme, the areas were pretty much all the same in terms of how you got around. Don't get me wrong, each area stood out from the previous, but at its core, they were all very similar. Combat is still the same as the first, and although very basic, is still engaging with your character being a martial artist, and a lot of the animations, including some of the finishers, all happening in first person. I did notice though that in the first game we had the ability to use a few weapons that we could pick up from the enemies, where this game has ditched that, and I kinda miss the option of being able to switch it up a bit and use ranged combat from time to time. Now, the story, well, to be honest, I'm not going to lie to you, the story isn't that great. None of the characters really had any development. They were just there because we knew some of them from before Juvie. I wanted to know more about the characters, but the game never gives that to you, and so when characters like Noah dies, I don't care, like there's just no connection there. And not only that, but the further you progress through the story, the more you realise that pretty much every mission involved you doing the same thing as the last, just at a different location, and that gets boring after a while. Saying that though, come December this game will unfortunately hit that graveyard of unobtainable platinum, so purely on that basis I have to say that it's worth getting the platinum trophy for before it's too late. Anyway guys, that brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed today's video, then a like and share down below would be greatly appreciated. It shows your support, and your support is always appreciated on the channel. Also, make sure to let me know what you think of Mirror's Edge down in the comments below. Is this a game that you are planning on getting the platinum trophy for? If you've already got the platinum, did you enjoy it, or have you just played it? Did you enjoy it then? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you haven't already, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on to stay up to date with everything I upload. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video.